All right, we're off to Washington, D.C. to visit Capital One Arena. This is Rinks Around the League. Let's go. Hey there everyone, welcome back to Rinks Around the League. I'm your host Jeff Nash, and on this episode we're heading off to Washington, D.C. to visit the Capital One Arena, home of the Washington Capitals. Construction of Capital One Arena began October 18th, 1995 and opened on December 2nd, 1997 at a cost of $260 million and is owned by Monumental Sports and Entertainment. The rink was privately funded by Abe Paulin. Its seating capacity is 18,506 and its scoreboard measures 25.2 and 14.5 feet. Capital One inked a 10-year, $100 million deal. Secondary market ticket price ranks them 22nd in the league at $112. While Capital One Arena is home to the Washington Capitals of the NHL, the Washington Wizards of the NBA, the Georgetown Hoyas of the NCAA, and the Washington Valor of the AFL. While Capital One is located right in the middle of Washington, D.C., you're about 5 blocks from the National Mall and kind of halfway between the White House and the Capitol building. It's completely surrounded by national galleries, Chinatown, museums, and administration offices. While Capital One is a pretty simple design. It has a decent-sized lower bowl, it has a mid-bowl with luxury seating and boxes, and a pretty small upper bowl. They have an impressive collection of banners and retired banners up on the roof, and after the 2017-18 NHL season, they were able to install their very first NHL Stanley Cup Championship banner in the roof. The Capitals have some pretty successful teams play inside Capital One, and it's hard not to think of that rink and its goal horn without thinking of Ovechkin jumping into the glass. Now they did just complete a $40 million renovation to the rink, and that happened after my last visit to Washington. They upgraded the seats, the sound system, premium lounges, they modernized the main concourse, and they added a full-time Fanatics team store. Now these renovations were badly needed. My last trip to the rink, it was pretty bare and it didn't have much character to it. Now speaking of renovations and upgrades, arguably the most impressive is yet to come this summer. Now it was announced that they would replace their scoreboard and add some new digital signage, but this isn't your normal signage. This will include a 4K giant scoreboard in the middle of the arena with parts of it that are fully retractable, making it for a fully customizable center. One truly unique aspect of Capital One, and my personal favorite, is a 9,000 square foot continuous ribbon scoreboard that will wrap the entire building with a 360-degree sky ring. It looks like it's going to be an amazing addition to that building. And if that wasn't enough, they're also installing 4 curved dual TV boards in the corners of the rink. Like, I can't imagine, but I'm very excited to see what the in-game presentation folks have in store with all that digital signage at their disposal. Now this is a pretty amazing upgrade to what used to be an otherwise pretty bland building. So I'm very excited to get back to Washington to see what those folks have in store. Now all these renovations and upgrades will make this a pretty cool hockey venue for years to come. But my favorite part of going to Capital One Arena is the city itself. When you go to Capital One, you're right in the heart of DC and the capital of the free world. The museums, Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol building are all walking distance from the rink. I highly recommend that you take a couple of days to enjoy this city if you're going to a game there. Now after all that, is there anything I don't like about the rink? Well, before all these renovations took place, I felt that it was a pretty bland and nondescript building. Now the concourses were pretty dark and nondescript. However, with all these recent renovations and upgrades, I think it's changed dramatically. Now those things that I didn't like are probably all gone, but I'll have to visit it one more time to see how much they've improved on things. But Capital fans, let me know your thoughts. Are all these renovations and additions a huge plus for the rink now? And how pumped are you to see that new scoreboard next year? Well, that does it for this episode of Rinks Around the League. On the next episode, for now, it'll be our last stop in the NHL as we head to Winnipeg, Manitoba to visit the Bell MTS Center, home of the Winnipeg Jets. As always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _TheRinks, on Facebook at The Rinks, and on YouTube at Rinks Around the League. Hit subscribe and ring that bell. We were staying at a hotel in DC, and there were all these black Suburbans kind of hanging around. Bellman said that Trump was going to be there that evening for a meeting. And at first I didn't believe him, because how often does the President of the United States stay at your hotel? But sure enough, I actually camped out at the hotel lobby to hopefully grab a picture or a video of him entering in the hotel. And I was talking to the security guard saying, "Am I okay here?" And they said, "Oh yeah, for sure." And sure enough, probably an hour before he came, they kicked us all out to the end of the block. And I'll never forget seeing the motorcade come down the streets and just the sheer amount of security and motorcycles and vehicles coming down for him. And luckily enough, I was actually able to capture a little bit of him as his limo was pulling into the hotel. It's not every day the President of the United States stays at your hotel, and it was pretty cool to witness.